And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so excited that you've decided to join us here live. I know that sometimes it's very hard these days to convince ourselves to spend time indoors. I know personally that if I could spend my whole day outside, I would. But I'm so happy to be here with Ruth today talking about LinkedIn. And not only about LinkedIn in terms of the basics, how do you create a post and how often should you post, but I'm very excited to dig a little deeper into what is a LinkedIn success mindset, how can you get it, and how to really use LinkedIn to nourish relationships and get more leads. So, hi Ruth, how are you?
Hello, I'm so well. I've been outside this morning, so I feel like I've got my sunshine. I'll go out this afternoon again, so I've got my fix of the sun today.
Yeah, I was spending my morning routine now is all about get my coffee, get my book, get my journal, sit outside in the sunshine, read a little bit of a book, write something in my journal, soak in the sunshine, and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to close myself indoors for a little while.
Yes, exactly.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself first before we dive in this conversation.
Yeah, there's nothing like tell us about yourself that sets you off in an existential crisis, doesn't it? But what you need to know about me, I suppose, is that I am a coach and mentor, especially to female entrepreneurs or people who are stepping up into leadership. So that might be a CEO or director. And I have 20 one-to-one clients. So I have a really broad range of men and women that I work with. And I've built my business using LinkedIn. It is the primary and almost only channel that I use. So I don't really have an email list that I communicate with. LinkedIn is basically the perfect source for me to be able to connect with people and to always be filling my practice with clients. And the other thing I think you need to know about me is that I'm a really imperfect LinkedIn user. So I'm not one of these people who's going to come in and say, like, post 5 times a day, write loads of articles, spend 10 hours a week. I've managed to build this business with not posting every day, posting erratically, posting when I feel like it, and really using this LinkedIn mindset to enjoy being on LinkedIn when I'm on there, not as a leisure activity, but like as a business tool, and avoiding some of the stuff that people don't like about it. So, and it's lovely to see some people are saying that they're joining, and welcome from the Surrey Hills. It must be beautiful there. So yeah, that's me.
It's wonderful to really set out the expectations for this session that it's not going to be one of those you need to post 3 times a day, you need to be really consistent, you need to have a super structured, clear content plan and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about this. So let's dive in with talking about the topic you already kind of touched on. It's to tell us a little bit more about what LinkedIn success mindset means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this word mindset might be one that's been like thrown around by lots of people. Let's just like really be really clear about what we're talking about. So mindset is like the way of thinking. So the way you think about something. So often in life we like start from the outside in. So we're like, okay, we need a content plan, a strategy, a posting schedule. But somehow you don't end up doing it, or it gets put off, or you don't have enough time, all these things. And that's a sign that you haven't done the inner stuff before you do the outer stuff. So in my coaching, I do the outer and the inner. So the mindset is like a way of thinking that helps you be successful on LinkedIn. So like, if you tell me a problem that you have on LinkedIn, I can kind of link it very clearly to a mindset, a way of thinking problem. So what's the kind of success mindset as I look back at why I've been successful there? So the first one is curiosity. So like, a lot of people go on LinkedIn and think like, how can I get people to buy from me? What can I say about me? How can I get people, get leads, get me? Me. And then that can kind of set them off into like, oh, but I'm being judged. Oh, but what if I say the wrong thing? Or da, da, da. Instead, if you have this like thinking pattern of like, oh, I wonder who might be on there. I wonder what they might be talking about. I wonder what they might be doing. I wonder what interesting information I can read. If you have that kind of curiosity, you're already looking for like ways to connect with people. And LinkedIn is like one of the most amazing networks that's really kept the ethos of a social network. It truly is a social network. It's all designed around connections and network. So it's not a marketing platform. It is used for marketing, but it's not just a sales platform. Otherwise, no one would be on it because no one wants to be sold to. So if you have this mindset also of connection, like who can I connect with? Who can I help? who can help me, but also like about connection. And then they're all C's actually. So like I think it's called like the 5 C's. I mean, you've got to have one of these, haven't you? Like so curiosity, connection, and then creating value. So starting from that point of thinking, how can I help somebody? Because if you go into LinkedIn and you immediately send someone like, so if I said, hi, I'm Ruth, I'm a coach, I'm great, work with me, send me this, da da da. We all get those messages. And you know what? Everybody's like, block, delete. Like, they don't want to, yeah, goodbye. Yeah, because like you're like, you don't know me, you don't know what I want, you don't know who I am. Like LinkedIn is a network for the long term, like it's for connections and creating value. And in that kind of creating value, the next C is contribution. So it's a community when, you know, it works best when it's a community. So like, what can I contribute? What information do I know? What can I share? How can I help? And the last C is conversations. So like, who can I talk to? Not like who can I sell to, but who can I talk to? And if you're good at what you do and you know what you do and you have a business and you can talk about it and share success, people, the conversation then moves into that area. So people want to buy from you. They're like, oh my God, I have that problem. I know somebody who has that problem. I know somebody who knows someone who has that problem. You know, it's the conversation is the starting point rather than the selling. So yeah, the 5 C's: curiosity, connection, creating value, contribution, conversations.
And I love your perspective on this because LinkedIn, especially, is often seen like the sales platform because it is it's specifically designed for professionals.
Yeah.
Where, you know, your Facebooks and Instagrams and TikToks, they're designed for fun and entertainment and connection with friends and family. But LinkedIn, it feels a little bit more designed to be professional and it's designed to be, you know, to find a job and to find it. So I love this perspective that LinkedIn is, even though, yes, ultimately we are using it to grow our business, to get more leads, but use it really from the human perspective of being curious and connect with people.
Yeah. And yeah, we're there for business and we all know what we're there for, but we're there for mutual exchange of value. So like I found my web designer on there through one post. Like she literally just posted, I was like, website in a day? That's what I need. I hate this long drawn out like process. I was like, I'm buying. And I like sent her the money same day. You know, I bought from her immediately. People are on there knowing that I am a coach and that I will work with people if it's a good fit. We're all there for mutual exchange of business, but it's not a sales platform in terms of being the used car salesman of the kind of LinkedIn world of like, buy from me, please, 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 send me money.
So one of these questions, there has been a couple of questions that we've got before the session from people who RSVP'd. And lots of the questions were about kind of connecting with the right people. How do you find the right people? How do you find your target audience? How do you connect with them? So what would be your tips for someone who is just starting out on LinkedIn or they have been on LinkedIn for a while, but they really struggle to find and connect with the target audience, with the right people for them to be curious about, to connect with, and potentially to be able to sell to?
Yeah. So it's really basic. So a lot of people on here will already be aware of this, but let's start with it for people that don't know about it. But the ideal client and your ideal client is the perfect starting point. So I like to think of one person. So let's say my ideal client is a version of Jane. You know, Jane is a woman who's, you know, between 35 and 50. She runs her own business. She worked in corporate. So like, it's a really simple marketing tool. If you haven't done ideal clients, then definitely like do that, the exercise to begin with. But for the people who've already done ideal client and like, yeah, Ruth, we know about that already. Sometimes your ideal client isn't on LinkedIn. So for example, some people are really hard to access on LinkedIn. So think about who knows your ideal client as well. So I was thinking about it as kind of above and below. So you might have somebody who is a non-exec or their boss, or you might have somebody who's the event manager or the marketing person or the, you know, the recruiter who might know your ideal client as well. So once again, I come back to this idea of a network. So like building the network is of value because you're getting closer and closer to the person that you want to talk to. So either an ideal client or a set of ideal clients. So for example, throughout the last 18 months in my business, I've had different types of people that I'd love to work with. And so when I think about them, so like one group of people that I did a campaign reaching out to were women who work in technology at either a manager or director level. And so you can easily start building up an idea of, manager in O2, director in Vodafone. These are search terms you can put into LinkedIn to find those people. So yeah, start with the kind of ideal client and work out from there, and yeah, get interested in the search, like putting it in the search and finding those people, like what else have they done in their career? What kind of groups are they in? What are they talking about? Building that kind of understanding of them.
I love your mention of going above and beyond and around. Because I had a similar conversation with a client last week where she's trying to target VAs. But the challenge with VAs is they're either super busy, they're figured it out, they're great, they're oversubscribed, which means they're not on LinkedIn looking for support, they're not looking on LinkedIn for coaching or anything like that. Or there are VAs who are just starting out and they don't know how to use LinkedIn properly. They might not have the skills yet to really find the tools. And so she was saying that she's really struggling to find VAs. So we were exactly having this conversation of like, who will know VAs? Who will be able to then point you to a direction? So who are the people who will regularly be working with VAs and then start building relationships with them? So really look for the network. Think outside of the persona. Yes, have a clear persona. It's great. And we had a couple of talks about it. So if people are interested, I'm happy to point you to the direction of these talks.
Great.
Because having the kind of psychographic as well as behavior understanding of your customers is incredible. But then look beyond and look for the people who might connect you with these people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you remember, like, they're still going a little bit, I know, but like there used to be those kind of networking groups where you'd have, a dentist, a doctor, not a dentist, but like an advertising person around a table. LinkedIn is like that on steroids, but with like 740 million people. Like you don't have to be in those groups anymore because their groups are there, like on LinkedIn. So knowing you've recommended me to people, knowing somebody who works in social media advertising, they've recommended me to people, because it's not a conflicting business. So if you can't reach your person, they're going to know somebody. I think I'm 3 or 4 degrees separated from a lot of people now, like famous people. And that's the way it works. That's how a network works.
Yeah. So for someone, if we're talking about someone who is just starting out and they're, new to LinkedIn, what would you say, how do they start building their profile? Because obviously we're talking about connecting with people and stuff like that, but there are certain basic steps and things you need to put in place to really be able to then take your profile further and start building your presence.
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn is amazing in that they're really supportive of everybody on the platform who's new. So they've got this kind of step-by-step process that they guide you through. So they're like, now upload a photograph and it should look like this, and write a headline, it could look like this. There's like so much information there for you to guide you through those basic steps. But I understand that, like, the people who are new, and I remember being new on it, even though it was a long time ago, I remember thinking, but what do I write? So I called this bit "Steal Like an Artist," and I've obviously stolen that from the famous, phrase "steal like an artist." But just have a look at all the people who you would like to be like in your business. So I've looked at thousands of coach profiles on LinkedIn, and find the things that you like what really resonates with you, like what lands, what doesn't land. And so on my profile, for example, I've got a section where I've got my packages underneath my experience section, because LinkedIn was originally a CV type structure, and people are like, but I'm a business, but you don't have to use it like that anymore. So like now I've got these packages under the experience section. I stole that from somebody else. I didn't come up with that. Like, my headline, I stole it. I stole that structure from somebody else, and it works. So like steal, test, steal some more, test some more. Do that on a continuous cycle. So just update your profile, see if people are connecting with you more, are kind of contacting you more. If they are, keep it. If they're not, do less. And keep testing and refining as you go along.
Yeah, fantastic. We had a great comment from James about the sales post. He says that he heard a great phrase that says people like to buy, they just don't like to be sold to, which is very true. We like to think that buying was our idea, that it came from us. It's not something that we are being pushed to. So we like being nourished and supported and inspired to want to buy if we have a need or desire, but we don't want to be pushed. And you already touched on it. So I think would be nice to go into how do I decide what to post then?
Mm,
How do I come up with my content ideas? We said we're going to do it more organically, we're not going to overthink it, but
mm,
still, I'm sitting in front of a blank screen.
mm.
There is a cursor waiting for me to type, and I don't know what to type.
Step away, step away from that box. Like it's gonna bring anxiety. I want to say very quickly about that selling. I totally right. That comment is amazing. It's so true. I wrote a whole LinkedIn article about how to sell like Tesla, because I haven't actually bought a Tesla yet. Fingers crossed one day, but like not quite yet. But we went to Tesla, and the sales experience was amazing because it was all about what do you need from us? Like, how can we help you? Can I send you an email? Would it be useful? Like, there was never any push. It was like, we're awesome. You'd love to have a Tesla. How can we make that possible for you? And I was like, that's how we all should be selling, rather than like they don't, yeah, rather than pushing. So what to post? So an easy way to start is to think about all the questions that your clients ask you, or the problems that your clients have that you solve in your business. It used to be given as advice, like for blog kind of titles, so like brainstorm all the questions and then answer them in blogs. But you can also do that with LinkedIn posts as well. So, for example, I've written posts about like what is coaching. I think you asked me that like the first time we were like,
Yeah.
I know I like the idea of it and people are talking about it, but what is it?
Yeah.
So, for example, I worked with, trained a client who the business made recyclable picnic and, event cutlery. So it's like, oh my gosh, people are asking you questions all the time about your cutlery, like what's it made of, like how do we make our event sustainable? All these questions
Yeah.
they make.
How do I dispose of it? What side effects it could have? Could it break? Could it be dangerous? All those things. There's lots of questions about any product or service.
Yeah, I mean, you've literally got almost a lifetime's worth of content just thinking about those questions. So an exercise to do that I still do and will always do actually is like, once you've got this kind of persona, this ideal client, let's say mine was Jane, like thinking about when she's going on LinkedIn, like what's she looking for? Like why is she there? I mean, yes, she might be there like me to kind of sell my services, but also what else is she looking for? What kind of information does she need? And so that gave rise to some posts I wrote about other women's stories of the journeys they've been through when they've had coaching, because I could feel that Jane would be thinking like, what is possible for me? Like, what could I actually achieve? Am I holding myself back? What could coaching help me with? And so by sharing those stories, she's able to be like, oh, wow, like I could step up into a leadership position and have 2 children under 5. I could run my own business and still have time and sit in the sunshine. All these things, like thinking about the problems and the questions people might have and answering them is always a great place to start.
Absolutely. And again, it's about them. It's about thinking about their challenges and their problems. Obviously, often the content will be kind of problem solving, pain solving focused that we think about the traditional customer journey. We go from, awareness to consideration to conversion, and we're guiding people to kind of helping to solve their pain or problem.
Yeah.
But it's also, yeah, we join social media, we open the social media apps to be inspired, to be entertained, to connect with people. And the sales should be just the side part of it. That, yes, so if we see something that we might need, we will remember it and we might want to buy. But actually, the majority of the time we will be spending there is we are killing time and we're trying to connect with people and we want to feel inspired. So think about your content in the terms of really answer the questions, answer the pain points, but also make it interesting and inspiring and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I love there's a couple of questions here about
And
putting posts.
exactly, and
Yeah.
this is the question that kind of nicely leads us to. So we see the blurring of the lines, especially on LinkedIn, where it's becoming a lot more personal. And there are some people who would be saying, LinkedIn is not a Facebook, take your kid/dog/food picture somewhere else. So what is your opinion on kind of the personal storytelling, personal storyline, the more Instagram, Facebook-like content being shared on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Oh, I love it because LinkedIn is like a mirror to the professional world. Like it's now completely appropriate to have personal conversations and share your personal stories in a work context. And so it is okay on LinkedIn as well. There's a couple of things I wanted to share on that. The first is that if you want to be that informal style, like, and it is your style, don't be held back. You absolutely can. And if people who post, like, take your dogs and kids and go back to Instagram, they're not your people. Like, that's fine. You know, like, curate your space, like, as if it was your own home. Like, you don't have to invite them in. Like, you don't have to have them around, like, in your space. Make it your own space. Um, and then the other part I wanted to share was that a lot of people I work with struggle on LinkedIn because they see themselves or they think of themselves as introverts, private, reasonably shy kind of people. And I can really empathize with that because I'm intensely private. Like you won't actually find any pictures of my kids, even though I know pictures of kids get like the best engagement and like people would love to see my kids, but I don't. It's just a personal stuff. But my advice, you can still be successful on LinkedIn or any social network, but LinkedIn without having to share like everything. And the analogy I use, which seems to help people, is that imagine your life is like a house, yeah, and you've got your visitors coming to visit your house. Only certain visitors come into your bedroom. Like you don't welcome, like we had people around on Sunday. I don't welcome my friends like, hi, do you want to like come in? Or some people do. Like, I mean, some people would. You would be like, this is our bedroom, like sit on my bed. But for me, it's like there are certain spaces where you let people into. And if you're shy or introverted or worried about sharing social stuff on LinkedIn, you don't have to. But just think about like what could be your porch area that you're going to let people see. So on LinkedIn, I share that I have children. Like that's my porch. Like I'm not hiding them, not pretending that like I have them. And I sometimes share some stuff like yesterday I flew a plane. So I'm going to share a picture of me flying a plane because it's really exciting. It's about fear and like doing new things and joy and stuff. So that's my porch. But you're not going to see the stuff that's like private to me on any of the social networks because that's my style. So yeah.
And I love that. And our listeners, our watchers are loving it as well because it's very true. You can still tell a story, you can still share an example or a lesson learned or tell a story and bring people a little closer. You can, as I said, invite them on a porch or invite them to your sitting area, but they don't need to snoop through your closets and you are in control of what you share out there. And I think it was Sarah who said that it's nice that you can be more personal on LinkedIn. And it is true that people buy from people. You're still, even if you're business to business, business to consumer, we're still human to human. And especially LinkedIn really makes it clear with their emphasis on the personal profiles and really giving more attention and more reach and interest and new tools and features to personal profiles rather than company pages where you're more likely hiding behind a logo. And having a face there, having someone personal representing the company definitely resonates more with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about how business is going that your information you have is no longer a strategic advantage because Google and books and like, you know, it's not, if you're selling information, you've really got to be at the super kind of leading edge. And it's often not product or service either because there's like 50 web designers with the same skill set. So what's your competitive advantage? It's your human nature and your personality and who you are and the connection that you make with your client. And I sometimes I think about like futurologists, and I think I should be a futurologist because I just love making future predictions. I'm not really good at it, but I think it's amazing. But my future prediction is like as computers do more and more stuff with us, human connection is going to be what people pay for. So you're going to want to talk to a human doctor, you're going to want to talk to a human coach because we're human beings, not because of what we do. So if you don't share who you are, you don't get a chance people to connect with you. And as you said, you do it in your own way. So I do my posting and my approach. I'm reasonably quiet. I'm reasonably gentle. I don't shout a lot about successes. I do that in quite a kind of considerate way to other people. And I only share the stuff like from the porch rather than, you know, everything that's happening in my life. And so I was trying to think of an example. I was like, but I wouldn't share it. So I was like, no.
And it's great. And I love that you're giving people the permission not to share everything. because it can be very overwhelming and kind of there could be a lot of pressure just being on social media, seeing what other people are doing and what other people are saying and what they're sharing, to think I have to do that too to succeed. I have to create carousel posts and I have to tell personal stories. I need to take selfies. I need to do reels. I need to do that. And it's really nice that, to give people permission, because it is absolutely follow your own gut, follow your own preferences. You
Yeah.
do you, and it will resonate.
And it works. Like, I think that's the main message I want to say to people, is that you can build a business without doing this stuff. Like, there's no obligation. And I've been involved in social media for a long time. So like, I was an early adopter of LinkedIn. So like, I was one of the people that was on LinkedIn, and people were like, LinkedIn, like, why would you do that? It's so weird. And I was like, oh, LinkedIn. And I think social media was kind of a bit ruined by the celebrity kind of culture of it. Like, so the louder you were, the brasher you were, the more you shared, the more successful you were, the more followers you had. Unfortunately, what we've noticed is that those people don't necessarily make the most money or have successful businesses. They just have the biggest audience and they have the biggest kind of reach. So my philosophy of LinkedIn was always like, just have the right number of people that builds my business, gives me the revenue I want, and gives me the size I want. And that number should be as small as possible to get like the number, rather than as big as possible. So you don't have to be a celebrity, you don't have to be loud, you don't have to be like show off, you don't have to be anyone you're not. Just be you.
I love it. For most cases, you don't need to have a million followers. You don't need to have hundreds and thousands of followers. All you need is a quite high conversion rate for a handful of the right kind of people.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I still see businesses struggling with. It's they want more followers. They want more connections, they want more followers, they want more, rather than focusing on the quality and the relevancy of those individual connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I want to make a graph, but I didn't have time. But if you look at, like, so I joined in 2007, and I like just went along at kind of few hundred, early thousands for like a decade. And then over like 5 years, I maybe went from 1,000 connections to 5,000. And then the last year, I've gone from 5,000 to 8 or 9,000. And that's been enough to find me, help me change career, find a director level position, build my business, find clients. So yeah, don't focus on the number of like millions and millions of connections. It's quality, not quantity. Absolutely.
And especially on places like LinkedIn, where the different types of connections, you have first, second, third degree connection, you have hashtags, you can be exposed to your content and you can connect with people. People can follow you, get to know you, and buy from you, even without connecting with you. And there's lots of examples where client gets a message out of nowhere, someone saying, I've watched your content for years, I want to buy from you. And they're like, I've never seen them comment, I've never seen them like, I don't think they're following me. So there might be people who are following you without being represented by the number of followers on your account.
Yeah, I want to just really share that, because that's exactly my experience, is that the people who comment and share and connect with my posts, not connect, sorry, share and comment, are not often the ones that become my clients. The ones that become my clients are like these shadow people. I mean, obviously they're not shadow people. Like, sorry if you're one of the shadow, but to me, they're mysterious people. Some people call them lurkers. I think that's really rude. Like, they're not lurkers, but they're not maybe visible to you. But then they just get in contact when you've got a post that resonates and you've got an offer and you've got an opening, and they go, I'd love to work with you. And so I recently did. So I'm a sprinter, not a marathon runner. So I sprint. So like every now and then I'm like, oh, I could do with some new clients. So I did a 2-week sprint, 6 clients in 1 week. Like, so I'm a sprinter rather than a kind of marathon runner. And all of those people who booked in, I had no name recognition of them at all. So LinkedIn is definitely like that. It's like all these people watching, waiting for the time that they want to work with you. And then if you've got the right offer, they're going to get in contact.
There's an interesting question. We get these questions quite a lot. Is there an optimum number of posts? How often should you post? What is the golden rule of posting? So what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, thank you. So let me just share the research first. We were talking about it before we started because I thought like because I'm a scientist, I worked in data science. I like science. So the research is like LinkedIn says it recommends once a day, every business day. Then you've got other research which says 20 times a month. It says multiple times a day. There are training courses that will remain unnamed who are like 4, 5, 6 times a day. Like just reading that makes me feel kind of stressed and upset. So that's the research. My opinion is based on my experience, and my experience is you can post erratically when you want, and still be successful. And I wrote a whole LinkedIn article about you don't have to post on LinkedIn every day. The key principle is, are you on there connecting with people, posting, and keeping in touch with people in the same way? Like, let's say somebody that you worked with 10 years ago, you don't have to be messaging you don't have to be emailing that person every week saying, hi, do you remember me? We used to work together. Hi, do you remember we used to work together? They might come back to you 10 years later and be like, oh, I want to work with you. But you have to kind of be in there, like they have to be reminded that you exist. Like you have to be in their area. So I know that's a really annoying thing to say. I would say post ideally every week, some really high quality content, but don't get too hung up on every day or like 3 times a day or anything like that. Just show up, have conversations, support other people, do it regularly, and then it works.
We talked about this earlier that my advice always is quality over quantity. I'd rather you post 2 incredible, well-researched, well thought through, creative, really authentic pieces of content a month, rather than trying to post 2 random pieces of content a week or day because you think you should.
Yeah, absolutely. There is something on LinkedIn that if you don't post for a while, so for example, I haven't posted in the last week because I took a complete holiday, like cut off everything. I didn't schedule anything. It takes a little bit of time, like to warm up again. It's a bit like, it's like, who are you? I'm not showing your post to anybody, like for a while. So you've got to post maybe, a few times before it warms up again. And that's been my style, is this sprinting kind of way of thinking, like, how many clients do I want to have? When do I want them? Keeping in touch as much as possible, and then doing, more posts over a concerted amount of time. But there's going to be some people on here who are like farmers, like they like nurturing their seeds, so they might want to like do a post every day or every few days, just to kind of keep everything going. Whereas I'm a kind of sprinter rather than a farmer.
I love that. I love that. Really, there are so many ways that really can work on LinkedIn. And I think it's very important to find what works for you. What are the numbers of new clients that you get? It's different if you have a digital product or a real product where you're selling volume, or if you're a consultant, if you're service providers and you're selling quality to a handful of people. And because you will have different preferences. We see a lot more the trend of people really only posting in real time. There is a less of the scheduling and planning content being seen, where people do post a lot less and they post more kind of ad hoc content that comes to them in the moment. And there is literally, every time I go on LinkedIn or every time I go on training, trying to give people permission, you do you. I wrote an article a while ago on a similar topic, which is about being consistently inconsistent. That's the story of my life. I am consistently inconsistent with everything, with my diet, with my exercise, with my social media, with everything. But the thing is that even if you're consistently inconsistent, there is some sort of a consistency long term. And I am playing the long term game. I'm not playing, I want to get the results in a month or two. I am working with years in my vision of my business. And it really works, even with my running. If I don't run for 6 months, yes, the first run or second or third, I will be slower, I will be sore. But it's amazing that after the first week or two of getting back to running, how quickly I can get back to where I was and get even faster.
Yeah, exactly. And I have some clients who are like super planners. And I love them, like, because I'm not one at the moment. And so, like, if you love a plan, you love a schedule, you know what you're doing, then write your personas, create a plan for the next 6 months, schedule all into, whichever one you want to use, Hootsuite or whatever, press go, and then just like then just keep it going and let it go. But if you're not like that, because that's the standard way of doing it, a lot of people on here might be like, that doesn't really work for me, that's why I'm on here listening to you, then this is the alternative way, which is that you use your inner motivation, your intrinsic motivation and desire to connect, and what's in the moment, and everything that makes you human, that ability to think like, what do my clients need from me today? Like, what can I do to help them? Because when I do that, I find the posts land and they create this, amazing upswing of engagement, 3, 4, 5,000 people see it, people connect, whereas if it's scheduled, like what will people want to be reading in 2.5 weeks time? I'd love to be a futurologist, but not that much. Like, I don't know, like, will we be allowed to travel? Will the sun be shining? Will there something be in the news? Like, who knows? And so you might schedule it might not land. So you might be there, but you're not having an impact in the same way.
And you've really nicely touched on what I think is the most important part of any kind of social media, and it's the engagement. Because every time I talk to a client, I do a training about organic social media, organic marketing overall. I have 2 pillars. One pillar is content, and we talked about how to come up with content ideas and stuff like that. But the second one is engagement. And when I see that a client is struggling with time, resources, the thing I say is, if there's one thing I'd rather you to do, it's to go out and engage. If you can't think of a content, if you don't have the time or headspace, or if you don't feel like posting content, if you go out and engage with people, you comment, you like, you share, you have conversations with people, it's better. And that's kind of similar when you plan the content in advance and just let it go out there. You need to then go back and you need to watch what the content, you need to see the comments, you need to reply to comments, you need to nourish the conversations in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was, there's nothing like this kind of talk to make you think about what you actually do and be more conscious about it. And I was thinking, the first thing I always do when I open LinkedIn is go through, see, look at the notifications, like see who's commented on a post and say thank you, always, because it's a person behind the screen. Like, you comment on my post, it's like, thank you. Like, always, starting the conversations, getting the conversation going. And then whenever I look down the feed, before I even post or think about anything like that, I'm thinking, who can I help? Who can I support? Who can I, celebrate? And that means that they want to it's reciprocity. They then want to do the same for me, and they do the same. And it's makes you feel like people are like, oh, I hate LinkedIn. It's so boring. Like, the content's boring. Everyone's there to promote. It's like, how about going on there and like finding people that you can celebrate, share something, share some research that they're doing, and they'll love you for it. Like, I love all the people who share stuff. One thing I'm very mindful of, Lenka, is that we promised in the blurb that I would share an easy cheat sheet for a post. I don't want to not deliver that, because it's really annoying when somebody doesn't deliver something that they said they were going to do. So have a look at my LinkedIn profile and look at the posts that I write, because there are examples in it everywhere of this. But a really nice, simple template for a post is a headline that would make somebody like stop reading and think, oh, like, what's that? Because you only get to see the headline and the first line. So the headline, and then the first part of the post, it might be a paragraph, it might be a couple of paragraphs, is like a problem that you've noticed that people have, or that people have told you about, that's related to your business. Obviously, it's not like, oh, I get really sore feet when I go walking. I'm not going to be talking about that, because I don't help people with sore feet. But for example, and then I'll talk through the structure. So headline, problem, and then how you've solved it yourself, or one of your clients have solved it with your help, and then the hashtags at the bottom, and then a photograph that either ideally is of you. It's so painful that this is what is successful, but like, I've had to get over this problem. Like, if it can be of you, that's great, because people love to see people's faces, but something that's related to it, or like will get attention. So I've got a couple of examples that you'll see on my posts. So the first one was directed at female entrepreneurs who often have young children. And a lot of business books and a lot of business information is directed at men who have wives, or, whatever, VAs or, PAs to do stuff for them. Whereas women are just like, oh my God, I've got to like get the kids to school. I've got to like do this permission slip. I've got to remember this, got to remember that. They've got loads of stuff that they're doing. So this post was about, you need a great home team. You need a great support team in your business. So that was the headline. And the problem was, as I just said, like that, we're not just running one business, we're running like a home business as well at the same time. So we're running two, and we've got to do all this stuff. And then the like solution paragraph is like, have a great home team. So, get over, you don't have to have these old ideas that women have to do it all anymore. Like, let's move forward. If you've got the money and your business being successful, hire a cleaner, get someone to help you. It might be your mum who's going to help you, but or your friend, like have a great home team, and then the hashtags. And that landed really well. And people were just like, yes, I need a great home team. And then the other example is a lot of my clients and people I speak to have problems switching off. Like they are always working. Knowledge work, your brain is your office, as I said in my post, like you are always on. And I noticed about 2 years ago that every time I went on holiday, I'd physically be on holiday, but my brain would still be at work. So I'd still be working. So I didn't actually get a holiday. So this post was called like setting, I think it's like, I called it mental out of office, mental Like the problem is we're always working, like we never get a break, which means that we're always tired because we're always working. Our brain's always going. So the solution is do a mental out of office, shut the mental office down, have a proper break, hashtags and that like as well. So yeah, that's a structure for you to play around with, try out and see if it works with your clients and your work.
That's incredible. It's such a helpful advice, even on, from your post that take a mental holiday, make sure that you put yourself in a state of not only being physically away, but being psychically away as well.
Yeah.
So we still have a little bit of time. So I would like to answer this question that we have here. Someone has asked about what about personal versus company pages? Are company pages as effective given that you say about connections and the personal touch, which is an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a great question, isn't it? I can't see any information about anyone. I think there's something about my settings. So I can only talk about service-based businesses and my experience as a coach where it's about human connection with people and people choose to work with me, not just the service I provide. So in my context, company pages are not at all important. So the only reason I have a company page is so that it will show my logo on my profile. And it's one of the, so if you go on my company page, you'll see it's like the saddest company page ever. It makes no difference because the primary driver for me is the personal profile, and it's to be connecting with people as me. However, I used to be, as you know, like a social media consultant. So I used to work with other types of businesses where there are multiple owners or like multiple staff members. And that's where company pages are valuable. Because if you have 20 staff, yes, they want to have really good personal profiles, but then you also can share updates from the company on the company page. And also that, they can engage with it and share it from the company page. Because you want your company to have an individual identity as well as your individuals. So I suppose the key question to think about in your own context is, does your business have a separate identity to your individual identity, or are you the business? And if it does, and you want to build that, then have a company page. But if you don't have individual profiles that are optimized and you're engaging and sharing and active on individual profiles, you won't be successful with your company page. Because coming back to this ethos of LinkedIn, it's all about the individual connections. So LinkedIn deprioritizes company pages, they changed it a little bit, but still it's about the individual. So you've got to drive it through the individual, but the company page can be valuable.
Absolutely. Especially if you're talking about your consultant, coaches, creative entrepreneurs, where their business is heavily based on their personal brand. It is you are your business. Then it makes so much sense to really focus on your personal profile. If, for example, like myself, I have my own business, which is me, and I do consultancy and social media, but also I run Cambridge Social Media, which is my business, but there are other people involved in the business. We have a page and we actively use the page to promote our events and talk. So it is a balance that you need to find out. But in most cases, definitely the personal profile should be the priority for everyone.
Yeah. And you mentioned about hiding behind a logo. So really don't hide behind a company page because you won't get anywhere on LinkedIn because they prioritize the individual.
So, could we spend a little time to talk about what makes a good post or an article on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. So articles, for those who might be new to LinkedIn, are used to be called and the name's completely anyway, it used to be called something.
Pulse, LinkedIn Pulse.
I loved it when it was called LinkedIn Pulse, but they changed it back to articles. Um, a really nice hack is to not worry about articles at the beginning and post and test lots of different types of posts, see what works. That's how I've learned that people love to see pictures of my face. I mean, it's a real thing I don't want to be learning, but they do. So I learned that because I posted different types of images. So test different types of posts, and some will land. Some will really people will respond to, and because you've only got such a short period, such a short space in that post, you can then extend that
Well,
in.
not anymore because they increased the character limit from 1,300 to 3,000 characters for LinkedIn posts. So, short, not so short
Yeah,
anymore.
it's true. Actually, you can get a lot more on there. I think I've probably just still got that feeling that they should be short. They should be easy reads. They should be quick.
Yeah.
I don't think I can read 3,000, 3,000 words in a post. But let's see. I mean, this is the thing about LinkedIn. This is why this test, refine, improve cycle is so important to continuous, because it's continuously changing. And somebody asked in the questions about our about connection limits, weekly limits. So I have to admit that made me very sad, because I was a person who liked to send a lot of connection requests in big bursts because that was my style. But it's an opportunity for us to be much more focused and smart and really connect with people rather than having a really broad brush approach, and to do it over a long period of time. So it is, I feel like LinkedIn's done it for our own benefit, to stop us from doing what we were doing, which was because I used to send sometimes 50 a day or something, when I wanted to. So yeah, back to the point about the articles is that, test out the information in smaller bursts and then extend it into an article. And then with the articles, you can have them as featured content as well. So if you look at my profile, you'll see there's some featured articles. The ones that really landed well, and also people still keep asking me the questions why would I invest in a coach, for example, is there, because it's just something that people say to me all the time. So I know it's something people want to read.
I love the fact that you're using kind of your regular posts to try and test new ideas and watch what's working. And when there's something that's really working, resonates, you can then repurpose it and add a little bit to it and use it as a LinkedIn article. Because I know that lots of people are frustrated with articles because they don't get as much reach or and when you look at analytics, the interest that comes from articles is much lower than from a traditional simple text post. But at the same time, they stay on your profile. You can have them in your featured section, and you can really add a lot more, information and background and advice and answer all the FAQs in there. And they can really work for much longer. The longevity of these posts can be not only days or weeks, but months or even years. So there's definitely a point for utilizing articles as well as simply posts on your timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really echo that the articles are like a library. So you're creating this library of content. And so I share those articles. I think I've got ones from the last kind of 5 years, share them again and again as posts, and people are rediscovering them. I share them with my clients. They're evergreen, because they'll last in most cases for a long time. And so even if your post might get 5,000 views, but your article only gets 10, yeah, but over 5 years it might get 5,000 reads, maybe.
Yeah. So do you have any tips on really structuring a good post? We talked about what the images might look like, but do you have any tips about, how to start your post, how you break down the text, where do you add a call to action, where do you add link, any kind of the more of a hands-on practical tips on how to write a really good post?
Ooh, you're asking me kind of for the holy grail, silver bullet, what does one good post look like?
If there's a template or formula that you would follow to be like, so I need a headline, then I need a hook, and then I need a copy, and then I need some bullet points, and then I need some emojis, and then I need to break it down into smaller paragraphs, and then I need a call to action. Or do you
Yeah,
have something that you would, even if not so, in a formal way, that in back
yeah,
of your head you have a template-ish kind of
yeah,
approach?
yeah. I definitely be happy talking about the voice and the style that I've developed. And it does, my posts always have a headline, and I always look at them as the headline and the first line and the image. Like, what's when you're in the scroll, what's somebody going to see? So like the mental out of office one, the first few lines are really important to grab that attention so that people are like, oh, I want to read more. And then the photo. So the photo in that case was of me, but let's say the home team one was of, 3 mugs together, like as if it was a kind of family. That's really, really important to think about what's going to grab the attention or what's going to make people want to kind of click and read more. And then shorter sentences, shorter paragraphs, thinking about being able to read quickly and scan it quickly. And my style is very conversational.
Ooh, it looks like we've lost Ruth for a second. Is it just me? Hopefully she'll come back very soon. But one of the things I wanted to ask her while she's back was to talk about a little bit more about type of content in terms of the form. So obviously her specialty and her focus is on written posts. It's a text-based post where it's pretty much a text, a body of text, and there is an image. But you have so much more options to think about what would work for you, for your business, for your unique style and approach. And you can create PDF slideshows, or you can add videos, or you can go live, you can create polls. So there's a lot more that you can do about that. You're back. Hey.
Can you hear me properly? Because I'm on the phone
Yeah.
now. Excellent. So my style, yeah, very conversational. I want to be thinking about speaking directly to that person and always thinking, like, what can I share that's actionable, that can help them know that somebody else has the problem that they have that they're looking to solve, and then I also have a solution because I'm a coach, so like that's my whole business. But I love that you were talking about different types. So polls, I adore polls. So polls are fantastic to get people engaged and to get information as well. So I asked some questions around how much do people invest in their personal development, and people share. So it helps me with my pricing, it helps me with my business, it helps me identify people who invest in their business. So you can ask questions like that would be of interest. So another poll that I did was, what do you call yourself? Do you call yourself an entrepreneur, a business owner, self-employed? Because that helps me with my messaging as well. But it's also an interesting debate. Like, Lenka, are you an entrepreneur or a business owner? What does that mean to you? Is there no word? So the polls are really, really great because you can do them and then you can share them after as well. So you can share the results. You're like, look, 50% of people said they're business owners. That's surprising, isn't it? Like, that's really interesting. Like, they don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. So there's different kind of styles of posts that you can do.
And absolutely. And with polls, you then obviously see the results, who voted for what. And if it's something, if the poll is designed to be a little bit of a market research for you, then that really gives you a clear idea who would be the people who would fit into the category of your ideal client, who clicked the answer that you wanted them to click, and you can reach out to them. You can start, not sell to them, but I know that I've seen a couple posts from a LinkedIn trainer or copywriter who was like asking questions about the LinkedIn training. Would you like this in a LinkedIn training, or would you like this? And over a couple of days, I've seen different posts where he was getting more and more specific with, what would you want in this training, and what would be the price? And out of nowhere, there was a post about, he is running a training and the price is this, because that's what people said. And out of nowhere, I was really interested because I voted. So obviously I had to book myself onto the training.
Yeah, exactly. And what I really love is like that the LinkedIn space is so big and so broad, and it can be so overwhelming for people to be like, oh, so there'll be some people listening now like, oh, they're talking about lives, polls. The one thing that I'd like really love to bring it back to is you can do things really simply
and do very simple posts like I do. So I only do these kind of problem solution posts, a couple of polls every now and then, and still generate leads for your business and connect with potential customers. So I don't do lives. There's lots of things I don't use, so you don't have to. And the other is that it comes back to the steal like an artist concept again, which is that I'm always looking at other people's posts as I'm reading reading the feed and thinking, "Ooh, that would be a nice structure. I'll try that out next time." Or, "Oh, look, that person used special text. Maybe I'll try that out and see if that works." So you've got this kind of space of inspiration that you can draw from when you're reading it. It's not just looking at the information, it's looking at, maybe I could structure it like that and test it. Because somebody who's watching this maybe in a year and a half might go onto my LinkedIn profile and be like, "She's not doing anything that she said she was doing." It's because it's continuously evolving, and that is scary, but it also gives you space to be creative with it and do new things and copy other people, essentially.
I love that. Absolutely. It's great to have a little bit of an understanding of the structure and of the strategy and of a plan. But then at the end of the day, social media is so much about experimentation. There are certain principles that we, can discuss and we can teach people. But at the end of the day, it is about, you experiment what suits for you, what works for your audience, what you enjoy doing. Because I want everyone to know that social media doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be frustrating. It can be fun. It can be enjoyable. It should be enjoyable.
Yeah. And I'm just imagining also there are some people on this call who are like really not posting a lot at the moment. And so a lot of the stuff is they're thinking, this is so complex and overwhelming. So some really easy posts to get started with. So one of the easiest ones is to share some kind of resource or research report or something else that somebody's posted with a few lines at the top, sharing your own expertise or sharing your own perspective. Something you disagree. Like, so let's say McKinsey wrote this report about the future of work is AI. For me, I would say it's actually humans and soft skills. That's going to be the future of work. And so you don't have to write anything scary like your own story, but you can still share your expertise and position yourself as being knowledgeable and somebody that they should be aware of if they want to work with you.
Yeah, I'll try to squeeze in two questions that we've got. The first one is, what about video? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have a coach myself, and she's encouraging me to be on video more and more. So my journey with like video and images is that 2 years ago, I didn't take any selfies at all. I didn't take any photos of myself. I was profoundly uncomfortable with the whole process. And over 2 years, I've slowly become more comfortable sharing some photographs of myself and being on video more. But I'm still kind of at the beginning of that process with video. So I'm still kind of getting, building, getting over my own fears. I think everybody here already knows, like, video is going to get really good engagement. It's going to really build your business. It's the future of the internet. Like, we know all this stuff they're telling us, but do we really want to do it? It's so scary. So I think in the future, I will do more video. I've done a couple and they've just got amazing responses and great results and clients contacting me. But I do find that they take quite a personal toll on my energy, and they bring up my old fears and triggers and everything. So even being like on this, like, I'm not superhuman. Like, I still have a bit of worry before I do it, and I'll be really a bit tired afterwards. So I think only do it if you can do it and it works for you, and it doesn't, like, there's no point in creating a video and having no energy left to serve your clients or anything. But it probably is the future, unfortunately.
I love that. I love the fact that, yes, video is great. And we've done lots of training on videos, how to do video, how to edit, all the advice. But at the same time, you do you. And I'm the same, like being on video. I can do live video. I'm okay with that because it feels more like a real conversation. But if it's just me standing in front of a camera trying to record something, I hate it, and I really feel so much anxiety around the preparation, doing it, and then I'm absolutely knackered afterwards. But I see the benefits of doing it. So every now and then, mainly it is when you feel inspired and when there is a strong urge and need, like, I really want to get this message across, and I think that the best way to get it across would be on video. Then this purpose and this passion often helps you overcome your fears. But if you do video only because you should be doing video, because everyone tells you that video is the way to do, video is the best, then you will not enjoy it. You will not get the best result. And obviously, if you don't enjoy it, don't get the best results, you will be even more kind of put down for doing it again. So yes, for video, but also just stay true to yourself and see what works for you.
Yeah. And just the last reassurance I would say is that I filled my coaching practice without using video. So you don't have to do video. You don't have to do these things. You don't have to do it all to be successful and have a business.
I would still want to quickly go through the questions. So Tim is asking about creators mode. Is it worth using, or what is it? Can you tell us more?
No, I can't. Like, as I said, I'm super simple. I'm super basic. I like to do things quickly and I like to do things efficiently. So I don't use any of that. And yeah, there might be people who can come on and run training on that, but my advice would be only do that like if you've absolutely optimized everything. Like, is your profile totally optimized? Have you got a total process for how people sign up with you? Are you posting on a regular basis? Are you building your connections? Like, only do like the advanced stuff or the complex stuff or like the more detailed stuff if you've got all the basics covered and done.
I love that. Start with the basics, get your profile covered and get your routine of posting covered before you start worrying about all the other bits and pieces, new features, new functionalities. The pro version, I think there's no need to pay to LinkedIn for anything anytime soon until you've completely utilized everything you can get for free. Last one, is there an optimum number of hashtags, or are they a good thing?
I haven't done the research on it in terms of there will be research. There'll be like someone says that, oh, this research study shows it's 5 or 10 or 2 or 3. Personally, I put in probably between 3 and 5 because of the look of it in terms of the interaction with it. When you're reading a post and then if you had this like really long list of hashtags, it just feels really ugly to me, but that's my personal style. I'm not sure that hashtags are the most important thing necessarily if you've got the profile, the posts and the connections, trilogy running really beautifully and like feeding each other. Yes, you might get 1 or 2 new connections or whatever through hashtags, but once again, it's not the most important fundamental thing to get right. But yeah, have a look at the research and you'll find answers in every flavor to that question. None, 5, 50, 100.
I was on a training about LinkedIn the other day, and apparently LinkedIn says it comes from one of the LinkedIn engineering sites that gives you the details about the algorithm, that the best is number 3. So 3 hashtags maximum is the best number. What I would say is also think about, use more long form hashtags, more complex specific hashtags rather than hashtags like hashtag coach. Because you always want to think about what will be the result that people get if they click on a hashtag, or if they follow, would people follow certain hashtag? What would be the competition? What would be the post you see there? What would be the relevancy of you showing up there? So having a little bit, again, smaller niche, more specific, more conversational hashtags often work better than like the big ones, which is like mindset.
Yeah. And that's, that I've learned something as well, like always be learning, like with this kind of thing. Like I hadn't thought about complex hashtags, but I will be trying them out next time.
Fantastic. Well, that's it. I think we've covered all the questions. If you have more questions, make sure, even if you don't have questions, make sure to follow Ruth on LinkedIn. She does share great content. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. If anyone's watching on the replay and you have questions, just comment below. And I'm sure that myself, my team, or Ruth will get back to you with an answer. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for being here. Bye, everyone.
So lovely. Thank you very much.